这是一部解码美国肆意操纵世界政局、扼杀中国发展幕后真相的力作，更是一部振聋发聩的警示录，绝对不能对对手的残酷和意愿抱些许幻想。目标中国，揭开美国对华屠龙战略之神秘面纱，解码美国扼杀中国发展之幕后真相。目标中国，一场蓄谋持久、触目惊心、血腥神秘、没有硝烟的险恶战争。谁是中国和世界真正的敌人？
I'm an American living in Europe for 28 years. I love my country, and I passionately fight to change it for the better, because without that we will never see world peace and harmony. And that's the reason for my books. That's the reason why I've come 9 times in the last 5 years to China to talk about my ideas. Thank you.
美国著名经济学家、地缘政治家威廉·恩道尔先生用一个人的力量挑战世界的邪恶，以地缘政治的独特视角，真实、严谨、生动地勾勒出世界地缘政治斗争场景，揭示了美国统治集团、全球卡特尔联盟暗中操作，在国际政治和经济上鼓励中国制造危机，重创直至扼杀中国发展的慢火煮蛙式屠龙策略，并点击美国霸权致命软肋，支招中国制胜策略。
It's the reason behind the Pentagon's missile defense agreement with the Japanese government, and it's the reason that Washington has secretly encouraged the government of Japan to make a provocation over the island in the South China Sea to test China's reaction, to provoke you to make mistakes, to weaken the energy security of China by challenging in the Middle East, in Sudan, in Africa, and elsewhere, the energy supply lines for oil and gas to China, to weaken the environmental resistance in China through promulgation of new chemicals such as glyphosate or neonicotinoids that are having untold dangers for the health of the Chinese people and the food supply, because they know that a population that is weak and fighting off illness is a population that will not fight. But now in the last months, powerful circles around Wall Street and Washington and the Pentagon have realized that China is awake and aware of many of these dangers and is beginning to take defensive steps to protect itself. And that alarms them greatly. That is the reason behind the Asia pivot. And in closing, I would hope that Chinese intellectuals, students, political people, media, debate the points that I raise in my book of the dangers facing China. If you agree or disagree, to discuss them openly, because the future of the world peace depends on China, on Russia, and other countries creating the freedom that not one power controls the entire planet.
当今的中国如何面对货币战争、石油战争、粮食战争、药品与疫苗战争、经济战争、军事战争、环境战争、媒体战争，招招险境的套中套，步步为营的链中链，如何解套，如何解码？敬请关注目标中国。
那么在书里头设计了8个方面。
You mentioned
石油战争、
eight aspects
农业
in your book,
包括这个
from oil to food to military and
这8个
money.
观点有联系吗？
Are there relations within these 8 aspects?
The corporations which control these 8 different aspects that I take up are all interconnected into one globalist corporate cartel or group. And it's controlling key parts of the American government, and it uses the power of the American government, the State Department, the Pentagon, the CIA, and so forth, to advance the private interests of these corporations. Take the example of Monsanto and GMO. Monsanto is a chemical company which has worked in top secret classified work with the Pentagon for chemical warfare since the end of the First World War. Monsanto is a part of this cartel of corporations. Halliburton, the corporation which has patented the new technology for shale gas, a technology that in my mind will destroy the ecology and the water supplies and the earth stability of Sichuan province if China is proceeding with this in a major scale. Halliburton developed that technology. Halliburton is the world's largest defense contractor as well as energy services company. The 6 largest banks of Wall Street, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, Citigroup, etc., Bank of America, they literally buy presidents, they buy the United States Congress, and they use the powers of the government to break resistance through the World Trade Organization and other organs to their looting of other nations. This is a diplomatic deception. The target is China. China is the key focus of the Asia pivot. But there is also a split within the Obama administration in the last months before the last presidential election. So it's not a unified offensive from Washington. There are divisions over what the best policy is toward China as well as toward Russia and the rest of the world. The Asia pivot strategy of President Obama is the same faction behind the Iraq War in 2003, behind the invasion and occupation of Afghanistan, and that faction is very powerful that even the President of the United States sometimes is unable to react independently.
Mr. Ndo, I'm from Da'ai Broadcasting Television. You have said if Chinese agriculture controlled by GMO seeds, within 20 years, China will not exist as a country. Is that so destructive? And what should we do? Thank you.
The commercialization of GMO plants, soybeans and corn mainly in the United States, Argentina, Brazil in the last 20 years is to my mind the most dangerous development in the human food chain in history. Recent independent scientific studies in France have shown that GMO diets on rats create cancer tumors, they create sexual infertility, they create liver diseases and horrendous health effects over a long-term period. And we are now coming into that long-term period in the United States. If China does that, and this is a 20-year period I'm talking about, and if China introduces GMO on a larger scale than it has already, I think it's quite certain you will have absolutely dire consequences. Allergies, diseases, and cancer rates that you cannot imagine.